11 players were drafted before Marshawn Lynch in the 2007 draft class. The 2007 NFL draft was loaded with talent, but one running back slipped just past the first dozen picks. Marshawn Lynch, selected 12th overall, beast mode, went on to carve a legendary career filled with bruising runs, highlight reel moments, and a Super Bowl ring. But what about the 11 players drafted before him? Some became stars, others faded into obscurity, and a few never lived up to the hype. Today, we're diving deep into the stories behind those names, the hits, the misses, and everything in between. Let's find out what happened to the 11 players drafted before Marshawn Lynch. First player selected. JaMarcus Russell was selected first overall by the Oakland Raiders. JaMarcus Russell was a giant of a quarterback, literally and figuratively. At 6'6" and over 260 pounds, coming out of LSU, he had all the physical tools NFL teams drooled over: a rocket arm, imposing size, and pose. He was a 5-star recruit in high school and putting up big numbers at LSU, throwing for over 3,100 yards and 28 touchdowns in his junior season before declaring for the 2007 NFL Draft. The Oakland Raiders saw all that potential and selected him with the first overall pick, signing him to a massive $61 million rookie contract, one of the biggest ever at the time. Expectations were sky high, but the transition to the NFL was anything but smooth. As a rookie, Russell barely played, showing flashes but nothing consistent. His second year was underwhelming: 2,432 passing yards, 13 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. The next season, 2009, was historically bad, with only 3 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, and a staggering 12 lost fumbles. The Raiders had enough and cut him in May 2010. After leaving the NFL, Russell struggled off the field. By 2012, he had ballooned past 300 pounds and faced personal troubles, including arrest. He tried to make a comeback in 2013, training hard and dropping down to 265 pounds. The Chicago Bears gave him a workout, but the chance had long passed. JaMarcus Russell's story is a cautionary tale. The biggest physical talent doesn't always translate into NFL success. His arm was electric, but issues with work ethic, preparation, and consistency kept him from ever reaching his potential. The Raiders gambled on him and lost, and Russell became one of the most infamous draft busts in NFL history. Second player selected. Calvin Johnson was selected second overall by the Detroit Lions in the 2007 NFL Draft, but his legend started long before that. Coming out of high school in Georgia, Calvin was a 5-star recruit, tall, fast, and impossible to cover. He committed to Georgia Tech, a program that was far from pass-heavy, and yet he thrived. Despite subpar quarterback play and a conservative offense, Calvin torched defenses with ease. As a junior in 2006, he caught 76 passes for 1,202 yards and 15 touchdowns, earning him first-team All-American honors in the Bill Kanoff Award as the nation's best receiver. Then came the 2007 NFL Combine. Calvin showed up at 6'5", 239 pounds. He ran the 40-yard dash in 4.35 seconds. That wasn't just elite, that was unheard of. Scouts already knew he was good, but now he looked like he was built in a lab. He skyrocketed up draft boards and became the no-brainer pick for a Lions team desperate for a superstar. And he delivered. In his rookie year, he flashed his potential, but by year 2, he exploded for 1,331 yards and 12 touchdowns. And that was on a team that went 0-16, the worst record in NFL history. Still, Calvin Johnson showed up every week, putting up numbers while defenses triple-teamed him. No QB consistency, no playoff hopes, and yet he balled out. From 2010 to 2013, Calvin Johnson was completely unguardable. He posted 4 straight seasons with over 1,000 yards and double-digit touchdowns, making cornerbacks look like kids. Then came 2012, his masterpiece. That year, he put up 1,964 receiving yards, the most in a single season in NFL history, breaking Jerry Rice's iconic record. And he did it without chasing stats. He was simply that dominant. Double teams didn't work, safeties over the top didn't matter. You could press him, play off, bracket him, nothing stopped Megatron. And he did it all while playing hurt. Behind the scenes, Calvin dealt with constant ankle, finger, and knee injuries, but he rarely complained. He just kept producing. But the truth was, the Lions were wasting his prime. In 9 seasons, Detroit only made the playoffs twice and never won a playoff game. Johnson never got the postseason success he deserved. The losing wore him down. The injuries piled up, and in March 2016, at just 30 years old, Calvin Johnson retired from the NFL. Just like Barry Sanders before him, another all-time Lions great walking away early. Fans were stunned. Analysts questioned why, but Calvin later revealed he couldn't even and walk upstairs without pain. He gave everything to the game and got very little help in return. He finished his career with 731 receptions, 11,619 yards, 83 touchdowns, 6 Pro Bowls, 3 first-team All-Pros. In 2021, he was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, one of very few to make it on the first ballot, despite only playing 9 years. Third player selected. Joe Thomas was selected 3rd overall by the Cleveland Browns. He was different, not flashy, not loud, but over a decade, he was the best left tackle in football, and maybe the most dependable man the NFL has ever seen. He was drafted 3rd overall in the 2007 NFL Draft by the Cleveland Browns. But what made headlines that day wasn't just the pick, it was where he was when it happened. While other top prospects sat in green rooms and walked across the stage in suits, Joe Thomas was fishing with his dad on Lake Michigan when his name was called. That's who he was. Quiet, blue collar, all business. And that attitude carried over into one of the most remarkable careers in league history. Joe came out of Wisconsin, a factory for NFL linemen, and he was already a star. He won the Outland Trophy as the best interior lineman in college football and was considered the cleanest prospect in the entire 2007 class. The Browns took him with the 3rd pick, and they never had to think about the left side of their line again. Most rookies take time to adjust. Joe Thomas stepped in week 1 and never missed a beat. He was a brick wall protecting Derek Anderson's blind side and helped lead the Browns to a surprising 10-6 record that year, their best finish of the 2000s. He made the Pro Bowl as a rookie and then just kept going. Joe Thomas wasn't just good, he was unbreakable. From his first snap as a rookie in 2007 until midway through 2017, he played 10,363 consecutive offensive snaps. Think about that. 10 straight years of blocking the best pass rushers in the world without missing a single play. Rain, snow, pain, injuries, didn't matter. Joe Thomas was out there, game after game, season after season. Reliable, elite, and quiet about it. Here's the sad part. Joe Thomas played 11 seasons, and the Browns never once made the playoffs. He blocked for 22 different starting quarterbacks, from Brady Quinn to Colt McCoy and John Manziel. Year after year, the team fell apart around him. Bad coaches, bad front offices, bad everything except Joe. Yet he never complained, never demanded a trade, never quit on the team. He showed up, did his job at an all-pro level, and left the excuses to others. In October 2017, during a game against the Titans, Joe suffered a triceps tear, the first injury of his career that forced him off the field. His snap streak ended at 10,363. He never returned to play another snap. After the season, he retired, citing lingering injuries and the toll of playing over a decade in the trenches. His final team finished 0-16, the ultimate low point for a franchise that didn't deserve him. Even with no playoff wins, no Super Bowl rings, and 133 losses on his resume, Joe Thomas is a Hall of Fame lock and was inducted in 2023. First ballot. 4th player drafted. Gaines Adams was drafted 4th overall by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He was supposed to be a star, a top 5 NFL draft pick with freak athleticism, length, and speed off the edge. But just a few years into his career, everything changed, and tragically, so did his life. He came out of Camden High School in South Carolina, a quiet, rural town. He played both football and basketball, and while he was clearly talented, he wasn't a big-name recruit. In fact, Gaines was originally just a 2-star prospect. Not many programs were chasing him, but Clemson saw something others didn't. They offered him a scholarship, redshirted him in 2002, and gave him time to develop, and that's exactly what he did. By the time he became a full-time starter, Gaines Adams was transformed. He was 6'5", around 260 pounds, with long arms, a quick first step, and a motor that disrupted entire offenses. As a senior in 2006, he exploded, finishing for 12.5 sacks, 17.5 tackles for loss, and a handful of game-changing plays. He earned All-American honors, won ACC Defensive Player of the Year, and finished his Clemson career with 28 total sacks, tying a school record at the time. The NFL took notice. Adams quickly shot up draft boards with his rare athletic profile and pass rushing upside. In the 2007 NFL Draft, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers selected him 4th overall, the first defensive end taken. He signed a $42 million rookie deal and was immediately seen as the next great edge rusher in Tampa's defense. In his rookie year, he looked solid, 6 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and a spot on the NFL All-Rookie team. In 2008, he took over as a full-time starter and added 6.5 more sacks. He was fast, disruptive, and looked like he was just scratching the surface. But things got murky after that. In 2009, Tampa changed defensive schemes, and Adams never quite fit. He struggled early, and by mid-season, the Bucs traded him to the Chicago Bears for a second-round pick. In Chicago, he showed flashes flashes but didn't record a single sack in 10 games. Coaches still believed in his potential. He was only 26 years old, still raw, still growing. But then, out of nowhere, tragedy struck. On January 17, 2010, Gaines Adams suddenly collapsed at his home in Greenwood, South Carolina. He was rushed to the hospital but didn't make it. The cause of death? Cardiac arrest due to an enlarged heart, an undiagnosed condition that had gone completely unnoticed. There were no warning signs, no drugs, no history of illness, just a young, gifted man who was gone in an instant. The NFL world was stunned. Coaches and teammates from both the Buccaneers and Bears couldn't believe it. Quiet, humble, hardworking. Everyone said the same thing. He had so much more to give. Gaines Adams finished his short career with 15.5 sacks and 5 forced fumbles across 47 games. And while he didn't become the Pro Bowl pass rusher people envisioned, his story was far from a bust. He defied expectations, went from a 2-star recruit to the 4th pick in the NFL draft. From small-town South Carolina to national TV on Sundays, he was just getting started. His story is a reminder of how fragile everything is. Talent, opportunity, health, it can all be taken away in a heartbeat. Gaines Adams left us too soon. In the time he had, he showed what can happen when someone gets a shot and refuses to waste it. 5th player drafted. Levi Brown was drafted 5th overall by the Arizona Cardinals. Coming out of high school, he was a 4-star recruit who committed to Penn State. He signed a $62 million rookie deal, one of the best ever for an offensive lineman at the time. Arizona believed he would lock down the left tackle for the next decade, but almost from the start, the fit fell off. As a rookie, he started 11 games at right tackle. He struggled with speed rushers and never looked entirely comfortable. The Cardinals kept him moving around, switching him between left and right tackle, but his technique issues, lack of lateral quickness, and inconsistent hands became hard to ignore. Still, he stayed on the field. From 2008 to 2011, he started nearly every game, even helping the Cardinals reach the Super Bowl in the 2008 season. That year was the peak Arizona's offense caught fire. Warner played like a Hall of Famer, and Brown helped stabilize a line that had been leaky for years. But even then, he was often pointed out as the weak link, giving up sacks, taking penalties, struggling against elite edge rushers. By 2012, he looked like a bust. The Cardinals re-signed him that offseason, giving him another big contract. Then, right before the season started, he tore his triceps and missed the entire season. When he returned in 2013, he was no longer in the team's future plans. After just a few games, Arizona traded him to the Pittsburgh Steelers for practically nothing, a late-round pick swap. In Pittsburgh, he started 1 game, won. Then he got injured again, and just like that, his NFL career was over. Levi Brown played 6 seasons, started 84 games, and made over $36 million in career earnings. But he never lived up to the expectations of a top 5 pick. He wasn't a locker room problem. He wasn't lazy. He just wasn't the dominant tackle teams expected when they pass on Hall of Famers to draft you. 6th player taken. LaRon Landry was drafted 6th overall by the Washington Redskins. He was built like an action figure and hit like a freight train. Coming out of LSU, he was seen as the next great enforcer at the safety position, the kind of guy who could change a defense's identity overnight. And for a while, it looked like he might just be that. But over time, his story became less about dominance and more about injuries, peds, and a career that fizzled out faster than expected. Landry played high school ball in Louisiana and was a 5-star recruit. He was one of the top defensive backs in the nation, and he didn't waste time making noise at the next level. He committed to LSU and started as a true freshman, something rare for a safety, especially in the SEC. From the jump, he played with controlled violence. He was fast, twitchy, and fearless in run support. By the time he left college, he was a 4-year starter, a team captain, and an All-American. He finished with over 300 career tackles, 12 interceptions, and a reputation as one of the hardest hitters in the country. In 2007, he entered the NFL draft and was considered the top safety on the board. He ran a 4.35 at the combine at 6'0", 213 pounds, and was shredded like a linebacker. The Washington Redskins took him with the 6th overall pick, pairing him with the late Sean Taylor in what was supposed to be a nightmare safety duo for years to come. And for a moment, it looked like it would be. In his rookie year, Landry made an instant impact. He started all 16 games, finished with 95 tackles and 1.5 sacks, and was named to the NFL All-Rookie team. He was flying downhill, blowing up running backs, and becoming a highlight reel machine. But then, tragedy. Sean Taylor was murdered during the 2007 season, and Landry, just 22 at the time, suddenly became the lone anchor in Washington's secondary. Over the next few years, Landry putting up solid numbers, 80+ tackles per season, multiple sacks, and the occasional forced fumble, but there were questions. He struggled in deep coverage, his angles were inconsistent, and while he played like a heat-seeking missile, he also started dealing with injuries. In 2010, he was playing the best football of his career, a true breakout year. He was everywhere. Then, a torn Achilles derailed his season, and things were never quite the same. Washington didn't pick up his 5th-year option. Instead, Landry signed a 1-year deal with the New York Jets in 2012, and to his credit, he bounced back. That year, he stayed healthy, racked up 100+ tackles, and made the Pro Bowl. He looked like the old LaRon again. explosive, fast, and terrifying. The Colts rewarded him in 2013 with a 4-year, $24 million deal, expecting him to be the leader of their defense. But it didn't work out. In Indy, the injuries came back, and so did the missed assignments and coverage lapses. And then came the pet suspensions. First 4 games in 2014, then another 10 in 2015. He had reportedly ballooned up to 240 pounds of pure muscle, and his drug tests kept coming back dirty. Eventually, the league suspended him indefinitely. He never played another snap. LaRon Landry's NFL career ended with 553 tackles, 8.5 sacks, 6 forced fumbles, and 4 interceptions across 95 games. He made 1 Pro Bowl and had a few seasons of strong production, but for someone with his physical tools and college resume, it was underwhelming. He was supposed to be the next Ronnie Lott. Instead, he became a cautionary tale, a guy who had everything you could want on paper: speed, size, strength, pedigree, but it never fully came together. Injuries took a toll. His game didn't evolve, and then came the ped suspensions that completely shut the door on any coming back. After the NFL, Landry disappeared. No media tours, no retirement speech, no transition into coaching, just gone. LaRon Landry's story is one of physical gifts that amazed people, and a career that leaves you wondering what could have been if it had all stayed on track. 7th player drafted. Adrian Peterson was selected 7th overall by the Minnesota Vikings. Insane, him and Marshawn on the same draft class. Adrian Peterson wasn't just a running back. He was a force of nature, a human battering ram with Olympic speed. From the moment he touched a football, you could tell. This guy was different. He grew up in East Texas, where football is practically a religion. Tragedy struck early in his life. He lost his brother at just 7 years old, then watched his father go to prison not long after. But even with chaos around him, Adrian found peace on the football field. He was already stiff-arming defenders in middle school. By the time he was a high school senior, he was a 5-star recruit, the top-rated running back in the country, and every school in America wanted him. He chose Oklahoma, and in 2004 was a true freshman. He didn't just play, he dominated. He ran for 1,925 yards and 15 touchdowns, finished second in the Heisman voting, and looked like a future Hall of Famer before he even turned 20. He was big, 6 foot 1 inches, 220 pounds, but ran like a track star, hit like a linebacker, and refused to go down on first contact. The nickname All Day wasn't just hype, it was reality. He played 3 seasons at OU, battled through injuries, and still left with over 4,000 rushing yards. When he declared for the 2007 NFL Draft, some teams worried about his durability. A broken collarbone in college scared people off, but the Minnesota Vikings didn't blink. They took him 7th overall, and they never regretted it. His rookie year, unreal. He rushed for 1,341 yards and 12 touchdowns, but it was week 9 against the Chargers that stamped his arrival. In that game, Peterson exploded for 296 rushing yards, the most in a single game in NFL history. He broke tackles, outran angles, and humiliated defenders. He made professionals look like high schoolers, and he did it all without saying much. No drama, no trash talk, just violence between the whistles. For the next several years, he was the best running back in football. From 2007 to 2010, he rushed for over 12,000 yards every year and never dipped below 10 touchdowns. He ran with anger, with balance, and with elite vision. He could lower his shoulder through a linebacker or burst outside and leave corners in the dust. He was the closest thing the NFL had seen to Bo Jackson in years. Then came 2011 and disaster. Late in the season, he tore his ACL and MCL, the kind of injury that ruins careers. Everyone assumed he'd miss most of the following year. Instead, he did the unthinkable. In 2012, less than 9 months removed from knee surgery, Adrian Peterson returned and had arguably the greatest season a running back has ever had. He rushed for 2,097 yards, just 8 yards short of breaking Eric Dickerson's all-time single-season record. He did it with Christian Ponder at quarterback. He did it with defenses stacking the box. He did it with a reconstructed knee and no excuses. He won MVP that year, and honestly, it wasn't even close. But Peterson's story wasn't perfect. In 2014, he was indicted on child abuse charges after using a switch to discipline his son, something he admitted to, saying it was how he was raised. The incident sparked national outrage. He was suspended, missed most of the season, and his image never fully recovered in the eyes of many fans. He later returned, publicly addressed the incident, and continued his career. But that moment forever put a dent in his legacy. Even as he aged, Adrian refused to fade. He led the league in rushing again in 2015. At 30 years old, he bounced around teams after Minnesota, playing for the Saints, Cardinals, Washington, the Lions, even the Titans, and Seahawks, after trying to prove there was more in the tank, and often there was. In 2018 with Washington, at age 33, he ran for 1,042 yards. That's not normal, but Adrian Peterson never did normal. He finished his career with over 14,000 rushing yards, 120 rushing touchdowns, 7 Pro Bowls, and an MVP, and a legacy as one of the most violent, relentless runners the game has ever seen. Second all-time in in rushing touchdowns, 5th all-time in rushing yards, a future Hall of Famer without question. Adrian Peterson was built differently. He didn't dodge contact, he embraced it. He didn't need an elite offense line. He didn't need balance in the offense. He needed the ball and a reason to run angry. 8th player drafted. Defensive end Jamal Anderson was selected 8th overall by the Atlanta Falcons. He wasn't a high-profile recruit out of high school. Jamal played receiver and safety at Parkview High in Little Rock, Arkansas, before filling out into a full-fledged defensive lineman. Arkansas took him on as a raw athlete, and by the time he hit his junior year, he transformed into a dominant force off the edge. In 2006, he broke out. 3.5 sacks, 19.5 tackles for loss, and constant disruption in the backfield. He was big, 6 foot 6 inches, 280 pounds, but moved like a guy 40 pounds lighter. His explosive first step, violent hands, and a wingspan that made throwing lanes disappear. He declared for the NFL draft after that junior year, and scouts were divided. Some saw a top 10 pass rusher with elite upside. Others saw a one-year wonder. Atlanta took the gamble and selected him 8th overall, just 3 picks after Gaines Adams went to Tampa. The Falcons saw Anderson as their heir to Patrick Kearney, a long athletic edge who could anchor their defense for the next decade. But right away, the concerns became real. In his rookie year, Anderson started 15 games and recorded 0 sacks, not one. For a top 10 defensive end, that's almost unheard of. He showed flashes against the run, held the edge decently, but the pass rush skills just weren't there. His get-off was slow. He struggled to bend the edge. He had the power but couldn't consistently beat NFL tackles. Year 2, same story. 1 sack in 16 games. Year 3, 2 sacks. It just never clicked. He stayed in the starting lineup mostly because of his draft status, not his performance. The Falcons tried shifting him inside, using him as a defensive tackle in sub-packages, hoping his strength could disrupt guards instead. Still nothing. In 4 seasons in Atlanta, Jamal Anderson totaled 4.5 sacks. For comparison, there are rookies who've hit that number in a single month. By 2011, the Falcons gave up. They released him after his rookie deal expired. He bounced to the Colts, then to the Bengals, then the Bears, trying to find second life as a depth piece. But injuries piled up, and the burst that made him a top 10 pick was gone. He was out of the league by 2013. In total, Jamal Anderson played 77 games in the NFL and finished with just 7.5 career sacks. He was never a locker room issue, never had an off-field scandal. He just couldn't do the one thing he was drafted to do: get to the quarterback. He was not the kind of bust people rage about. He didn't flame out in dramatic fashion. He didn't make headlines. He just faded away, quietly, slowly, and far beyond what people expected. And that's what makes his career sting a little more. Jamal Anderson had the tools. He had the one dominant year in college that made people believe. But at the next level, he couldn't convert raw talent into results. Every draft has a few picks like him, the guy who checks every box on paper but can't put it together on Sundays. Not for lack of effort, just because the NFL is brutal, and sometimes potential stays potential forever. 9th player drafted. Ginn Jr. was selected 9th overall by the Miami Dolphins. He was a 5-star recruit coming out of Glenville High School in Cleveland, Ohio. In fact, Ginn was initially more known as a cornerback. That's how athletic he was. Elite speed, track background, long strides. He could fly. But once he got to Ohio State, it didn't take long to figure out that offense is where he belonged. He played wide receiver, returner, and occasional gadget weapon. He didn't run the cleanest routes. He was technically sharp, but it didn't matter because no one could catch him. In his sophomore year, he became one of the most dangerous return men in college football. He housed punts, kickoffs, and left entire coverage units spinning in place. Defenses had to plan around his speed alone, and by his junior year, he was a legit offensive weapon, not just a returner. He scored 15 total touchdowns at Ohio State, and most of them looked like something out of a video game. Then came the 2007 NFL Draft, and that's where things got controversial. The Miami Dolphins had the 9th overall pick. Everyone expected them to take a quarterback, maybe Brady Quinn, who was still on the board. Instead, they shocked the league and took Ginn Jr. at 9. Fans booed the pick immediately. The GM even had to go on record saying they didn't just draft him, they were getting his whole family, referencing his kick return skills. Not exactly what you want to hear from a top 10 pick. In Miami, Ginn flashed early but never really became a WR1. He had the speed, but the hands were inconsistent. He'd make a deep grab one week, then drop a wide open touchdown the next. Over 3 seasons, he had just 5 receiving touchdowns. What kept him alive was his return ability. In 2009, he had 2 kickoff return touchdowns in the same game against the Jets, one of the only players in NFL history to ever do it. Eventually, Miami moved on. He bounced around: San Francisco, Carolina, Arizona, New Orleans. Wherever he went, the story was the same. Teams hoping they could finally turn Ginn's speed into something more than just big play potential. And to his credit, he evolved. In 2015, back with the Panthers, he put up a career-high 10 touchdowns, becoming a reliable deep threat for Cam Newton during his Super Bowl run. He wasn't catching 100 balls a year, but he finally found a role. stretch the defense, take the top off, force safeties to backpedal. In New Orleans, he gave Drew Brees another vertical option. Even late in his career, into his 30s, Ginn could still burn corners and get behind secondaries. He played 14 seasons in the NFL, far longer than most people expected, and finished with 412 catches, 5,742 receiving yards, and 33 receiving touchdowns, along with 7 return TDs. Ted Ginn Jr. wasn't a bust, wasn't a star. He landed somewhere in the middle, a misunderstood top 10 pick who didn't live up to the expectations placed on him, but carved out a career long of doing what he did best, running past people. His speed gave him a ticket to the league. His resilience kept him there, but he didn't care about criticism. He didn't care about labels. He just kept showing up, year after year, team after team, waiting for that next deep shot. 10th player drafted, defensive tackle Amobi Okoye was drafted 10th by the Houston Texans. Amobi Okoye was a phenom, not just for his talent, but for how fast he rose. He was born in Nigeria, moved to the US at age 12, and by 15, he was playing high school football. Just 2 years later, at 16 years old, he started getting real college offers. He committed to Louisville and became the youngest player in the NCAA Division I football. By his senior year, he broke out, 8 sacks, constant interior pressure, and dominant tape for a defensive tackle. And when the 2007 NFL draft came around, Houston took him 10th overall. He was just 19 years old, the youngest player ever drafted in the first round. As a rookie, he looked like a steal, 5.5 sacks, solid production, and real flashes of star potential. But after that, things cooled off fast. His production dipped year after year, and he never developed into the game-wrecking force people hoped he'd be. Injuries, inconsistency, and scheme changes slowed him down. He bounced to Chicago, then Tampa, then back to the Bears. In 2013, he faced a scary setback, a rare brain condition called anti-NMDA, receptor encephalitis, which kept him away from football for a year. He made a comeback attempt, but never played another NFL snap. Amobi Okoye finished with 11 career sacks, and while he never became a star, he'll always be remembered for how young and promising he was. He went from Nigerian immigrant to a first-round pick before he could legally buy a beer. The rise was incredible, the career short-lived, but few stories in NFL history are quite like his. 11th player drafted. Patrick Willis was born to hit. He didn't talk much. He didn't need to. His game spoke loud enough. From the moment he stepped onto an NFL field, it was clear. This guy was different. Violent, smart, explosive. A linebacker who could do it all and make it look easy. He came from nothing. Rural Tennessee, raised in poverty, working in cotton fields by the time he was 10. His father was abusive, and by his teenage years, he was raising his younger siblings himself. Football wasn't just a sport. It was a way out. He played both linebacker and running back in high school and dominated both sides of the ball. By the time he got to college, he wasn't just hungry, he was starving. And though he didn't arrive with a ton of hype, he left as one of the best linebackers in the country. By his senior year, he was a monster, 137 tackles, multiple forced fumbles, and a reputation as the hardest hitter in the SEC. He didn't just make tackles, he stopped plays cold. Sideline to sideline speed, perfect instincts, and a toughness that couldn't be taught. When the 2007 NFL draft rolled around, the 49ers picked him 11th overall. It might be the best decision that franchise made in a decade. As a rookie, he didn't just play well, he took over. 174 tackles, a Defensive Rookie of the Year award, and a first-team All-Pro selection. Right out the gate, for the next 7 years, he was the best linebacker in football, or at worst, top 2. It wasn't just the numbers, though he had plenty. It was the way he controlled the middle of the field. He could run with tight ends, hit like a truck, and quarterback a defense like a veteran. He made everyone around him better. He made middle linebacker cool again. From 2007 to 2013, he made 7 Pro Bowls and 5 first-team All-Pro selections. The Niners went from laughingstock to NFC powerhouse, and Willis was the heart of it all. In 2011, he helped lead San Francisco to the Super Bowl, coming just 2 plays short of a ring. He never compromised, never chased the spotlight, just clocked in, blew up plays, and walked off like it was nothing. Then in 2014, his body started breaking down. Foot injuries, toe issues, nerve pain, things you just can't power through, not even for a warrior like him. He played only 6 games that year, and in 2015, at age just 30, he walked away, retired, done. Not because he couldn't play, but because he couldn't play the way he demanded of himself. He finished with 950 career tackles, 20.5 sacks, 8 interceptions, and a reputation as one of the most feared, respected, and complete linebackers of his era. He only played 8 seasons, but every one of them was elite. Every year, he left a mark. Patrick Willis didn't chase fame. He didn't care about stats or sound bites. He just wanted to play the game the right way, with violence, focus, and purpose. And when he couldn't give it everything, he stepped away without drama. That's who he was. No fluff, no flash, just one of the greatest linebackers the game has ever seen. 12th player drafted. Marshawn Lynch was drafted 12th overall by the Buffalo Bills. Marshawn Lynch was built different. Not just physically, though at 5'11", 215 pounds, with 3 trunks for legs and the balance of a gymnast, he was a nightmare to tackle, but mentally too. He wasn't weird like other backs. He ran with emotion, anger, joy, and something you couldn't define. He called it beast mode, and the world found out why. Lynch was born and raised in Oakland. Tough environment, tougher kid. He was quiet, focused, and about one thing: ball. He played multiple positions in high school. Running back, defensive back, quarterback, didn't matter. He dominated every snap. He was a 4-star recruit committed to Cal, and by his sophomore year, he was one of the best backs in college football. He ran for 1,200 plus yards back-to-back seasons and left after his junior year, ready for the next level. In the 2007 NFL Draft, the Buffalo Bills took him 12th overall, expecting him to be their franchise back. And at first, he looked the part. He rushed for over 1,000 yards in each of his first 2 seasons, played with violence, and brought attitude to a struggling team. But then came injuries, legal trouble, frustration from the front office. By 2010, Buffalo was done with him. They traded him to Seattle for 2 late-round picks, a move that would go down as one of the biggest steals in league history. In Seattle, he didn't just revive his career, he became a legend. It started slow, a few solid games, then came January 8, 2011, the wild card round versus the Saints. That's when the world met beast mode for real. 1 run, 67 yards, 9 broken tackles, 1 earth-shattering stiff arm, and a literal earthquake in Seattle. It was the birth of a myth. From that moment on, Marshawn wasn't just a running back, he was a cultural figure. From 2011 to 2014, he was the most feared back in the league. He rushed for over 1,200 yards in 4 straight seasons. He led the league in touchdowns twice. He broke tackles like it was personal. He dragged defenders, carried piles, wore gold cleats, grabbed his crotch as he flipped into the end zone. Marshawn didn't care about being media friendly. He didn't do it for the cameras. He showed up, handled business, and reminded you he was there so he wouldn't get fined. In 2013, he helped lead the Legion of Boom era Seahawks to a Super Bowl title, dominating teams with a relentless ground game. The next year, they were 1 play away from going back-to-back. 1 yard, 1 decision, and the Seahawks threw the ball instead of giving it to beast mode. We all know what happened next: interception, game over, and one of the biggest what-ifs in NFL history. After that, things shifted. Lynch still had the juice, but injuries started creeping in. He retired in 2016, walked away on his own terms, only to unretire a year later, this time suiting up for his hometown Raiders. He wasn't quite the same, but he still ran angry, still brought the energy, and still made defenses flinch. He officially stepped away after a final short return to Seattle in 2019. Marshawn Lynch finished his career with 10,413 rushing yards, 85 rushing touchdowns, 5 Pro Bowls, and a legacy that can't be measured in stats. He changed the game. He brought soul to Seattle and gave fans a reason to believe. And more than anything, he stayed true to himself. Whether it was running through a defense's face, eating Skittles on the sideline, or dodging every media question with a grin, he wasn't trying to be a superstar. He just wanted to take care of his people, feed his family, and run the damn ball. And when it came time to deliver, Marshawn didn't just show up. He ran through you like you weren't even there.